government can or can't. Let's have an honest conversation over here, because I never believe in a clever conversation. From where do government does the function of the service delivery? It collects its taxes and then it spends it. And the third source of the revenue is that if you don't have that, you're going to borrow it from the third multilateral entity or outside from someone to fill in that gap. So what is our cycle and what is happening with us? We have got a target of almost 21,000 billion rupees receivable tax or achievable, which we project that we should achieve that. And the receivables are around 7,000 billion rupees. So the gap is of almost 14,000 billion rupees. So you are living in a neighborhood where you have got a very tough situation with your security, terrorism, so forth, and a few other things. Along with that, you have to develop an infrastructure to kick the economic growth and the rest. And then you have to couple it and provide the primary education, higher education to different socio-economic background of the people. The population is around 240 million people. How do you do that? How can you do that? The tax evasion is almost more than 10,000 billion rupees. And this is, I am talking about the documented economy, which by the way is almost 20%, and rest of the 80% is non-documented. So there is a non-documented economy and there is a documented economy in which you cannot receive taxes. You would definitely lead the questions, whose responsibility is this to collect all these taxes? Of course, it's the government and government's related department, which is FBR in this case. We have not done it. This is not in the last 3 months that we have not been able to hit that target. It is a consistent story with all kind of big leaders, small leaders, mid-sized leaders, military dictators, civilian dispensation. This is a constant story. And this is the challenge of governance. Instead of historical criticism of different things, if we start having these sort of rational conversations, we would exactly know where we are failing and why we are failing. Whether it is the health services or the educational services, if you want to ensure and spread it out as a nation, as a country, the first and foremost thing is that you develop your taxation system properly. All of us want to live in a Scandinavian ideal world, like the lifestyle in Norway and Denmark and the rest. Their contribution, tax contribution to their GDP is 91%. Ours is 9%. So I want to have a Denmark for contributing 9% as compared to 91%. It can remain in my wish list, but I can't have that. It's painful. It's painful. It's slow. Both. So what do you do? As a caretaker, I can proudly say that after many years, we are one in last quarter, we have achieved our tax target. This is amazing. If we could do it in 3 months, why the rest of the governments can't do? It is for the people like yourself, they need to answer and raise these questions. We did it. It's documented, it's published yesterday that in last quarter we were able to achieve the tax target in the FBR. So if it can be done in 3 months, it means that it is practical, it's possible, and if it is not happening, there is something very seriously wrong with our governance structure. This is my opinion on it.
Towards both the people and the government.
Well, of course, government is part of the people. I mean, if I am electing a government, so I'm contributing towards that either resolution or the problem. So I am part of the problem. And when you become in the government, and I have lended that support to you, so it means the two of us have brought it to the tango.
Mr. Prime Minister, why do we always go into frenzy and last-minute coping mechanisms, shut down the schools and do this and that? Why can't we be like Beijing and control this issue? I mean, crop burning is one of the prescriptions, but then there is no law enforcement. You go on the motor and people are doing it without any fear of repercussions or them being caught. So what do you have to say about that?
I completely agree with you. I mean, the enforcement is one of the challenges, as you have identified yourself in your question. The poor enforcement is part of the problem of the governments in this country. There are laws, they exist, but if he goes and tries to implement and apprehend that man, you will start agitating that his rights are being violated. And there is a group of rights emerge in this country wherever the law enforcement goes for the enforcement. There are occasions on which the law enforcement also are compliant for multiple reasons. Financial mismanagement, few others, political influence, they are there. But on the other hand, society also has a tendency to stop enforcement. So we are living in this milieu. Poor development and capacity building of the law enforcement agencies, lack of ethos. I mean, if you go and observe your bureaucracy who has to implement, you will be surprised the kind of a value system probably they personally hold. That is appalling, that is shocking, that is disappointing to say the least. We have a structure of a bureaucracy which does not have a sense of identity. That what was the Ottoman Empire? The Janissaries were the most committed group which ensured the structure of the empire. And those Ottomans were able to expand their good or bad agenda till up till Eastern Europe, primarily because of the Janissaries. If you go and see the structure of any nation state, empire, or anywhere in the documented history, there is a structure of the bureau who takes and furthers and forwards the agenda which is linked to that identity. In our case, it's missing. It is unfortunately missing. You don't know who they are enforcing the laws for, or they themselves are pretty much confused. So there is a structural issue at the level of the enforcement which needs some radical changes, in my opinion. Whether somebody does that or doesn't, you need a civil structure reforms. Until and unless you don't do that, from the burning of the crop up till allowing a vehicle on the motorway which is not fit environmentally, are both part of the challenge. So we need to address that as soon as possible. I don't know whether this policemen agree with it, but this is my opinion.
But then you mentioned radical change. Who will bring it and how? Like, what is the prescription? Will we keep dying? Our lungs are practically collapsing. So what is the prescription?
Radical changes are required. This is all I can say. By whom? Let's find the noun. Let's find the persons in the time. They are placed somewhere in the future. If somebody can peek in the future, they will know it.
But I am still pessimistic. I haven't found the answer, Mr. Prime Minister. Give us a noun.
Well, this is my art to evade answers, It's not the art to give all the answers.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, now coming to some serious questions. You recently banned all these celebrations on New Year's Eve in solidarity with the Palestinians. While it was well intended, Mr. Prime Minister, it raised two questions. A, about law enforcement, and about the global image of Pakistan. I mean, for the first one, celebrations still took place in the absence of law. For the global image, I mean, Pakistan, the only Muslim nuclear-powered country, has now gone to a status that when generations are being literally wiped out, this is what we are doing, banning fireworks. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, there was a lot of criticism also, and there was a lot of appreciation behind this decision. So there is a mix of both. There is a section of society which wanted to celebrate the New Year, and down the line, after 100 years, they wanted to be documented as someone on that particular second, 12 o'clock, 1 second, dancing and having festivity and so on and so forth. So they're very, very critical of this decision, and I don't mind of the criticism. Our intention first was to highlight that in the global community, particularly on the Western Hemisphere, that there is a nation of 240 million people who officially has distanced itself from the festivity because of the kind of the genocide which is being committed by this apartheid state of Israel, which is brutal, which has applied disproportionate force, whose existence is also at question, but they are expressing this brutal, are displaying the force of this brutality in a very, with impunity. So what are our options? One, do we go to the war? Yes. I'm an interim prime minister. Do you expect me to take the 240 million people to the war? Probably a nuclear war. So you are very quite serious people and raising a very serious question to me. Think about it, have a grand assembly, mull over it. I can't alone take such a big decision. It's huge. It's big. Should we go to war? I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm a very aggressive and a jingoistic person. Maybe I would say yes, but don't listen to me. War has implications. War is not a joke. What we have done, we have exploited the forum of OIC, we have exploited other international forums, we have been engaging with Western diplomats, particularly the US diplomats, Brits, Europeans, and clearly enunciating them, telling them that if such behavior continues, it would be responsible for radicalizing the entire 1.4 billion Muslim population throughout the globe, within West and over here, Middle East, North Africa, anywhere. So we are trying, the immediate objective is that somehow or other we stop this senseless war and create a humanitarian corridor. This is the kind of a message which the military leadership recently took the United States. And we were quite clear in our opposition and our condemnation and our commitment towards Palestinians. Is it wise on this occasion to initiate a war? And who are you, me, and anyone else who feels so passionate about Palestine and its cause? We have not lost a finger in this war, this single finger. There are 9,000 children have been killed. Let them decide. There is no need to be heroic over here in this peaceful, cozy environment. And just thinking that, oh, I'm so heroic, that because I stand with the oppressed one. It's very